Barbara was the fun, spontaneous aunt, and plenty of games, lots of candy, and just a little wild streak that was exciting.
Artist Jessica Farrell's Aunt Barbara is the inspiration for The Wilderness Diary, an exhibit now on display in Roxbury, New York. Aunt Barbara wrote about her struggles with bipolar disorder in the 1960s and 70s, and those journal entries accompany Jessica's portrait of her, along with 8 other portraits of people with mental health challenges, all depicted in their youth, with an animal companion and a Catskills backdrop. We met with Jessica at the Roxbury Arts Center, where The Wilderness Diary is on display through March 5th.
I'm Jessica Farrell. I live in Delaware County, New York, and I'm so happy to bring The Wilderness Diary here. I really envisioned my work here after I had the project complete. The series was inspired by the writings that my aunt sent me. She suffered with bipolar disorder in the 1960s and 70s, and she kept journals that were letters to herself, I would say, and letters to Charles Baudelaire. She wrote to her doctor. A lot of those things probably were never sent. I think she was really trying to work out what was going on in her mind. So yes, I was very inspired by her. She was integral to my life growing up. I felt very privileged that she trusted me with these writings.
This was the first of 14 shock treatments. After having more, my memory seemed to get worse, although it did improve in time. What's it like to spend a day, a week, a month in the psychiatric wing of a hospital? It all ends up being rather a bore. You arise in the morning around 7 or 7:30. There's coffee to drink while you wait for breakfast to arrive. If you've had a treatment due to the anesthetic, you have to be awakened by an aide or an orderly. Your name is called and you go get your breakfast tray. Breakfast time is also pill time.
Barbara was the fun, spontaneous aunt. Plenty of games, lots of candy, and just a little wild streak that was exciting. Late nights, listening to records and eating lots of candy. So it really was a kid's dream come true to be there.
Did you know anything about this other side to your aunt at that time that she was struggling with?
Actually, I didn't. As an adult, my aunt started to share more of this story. And then I reflected a lot on, the years prior. And it really broadened my respect for her because she was truly suffering but never showed that side of herself, and always presented herself as basically the world's best aunt. There were a few things that I think back on. There was a time when I saw that she had all of her clothes in her car, and I think, what was going on then? I never really asked her those specifics, but I know that she was in and out of hospitals, but also a very hard worker, very focused person, worked in manufacturing and held a job despite these challenges.
Excerpts from Barbara's journals, narrated by Jessica, play through the exhibit space, underscoring Jessica's portraits with a striking color palette and a style that might complement a Wes Anderson movie set. Barbara, the child, stares at the viewer, fox in hand. Dramatic Catskills sky in the background. Jason holds a white rabbit tight in a stark winter scene. Martha and a deer seem to comfort each other as a storm moves through a cornfield.
This is a portrait of Barbara Fox Smith. She was really an animal lover, especially large, rowdy dogs. When I painted it, I wanted to bring animals into the work because it was very integral to her recovery. And also, I chose to paint people either as children or young, maybe adolescents, because a lot of mental illness is present at that time. So I was really fascinated by a photograph that she'd sent me along with the writings. I try to show mental illness in a more subtle way by using the sky, her eyes, and somewhat the animal too. And of course, the background is the Catskill Mountains. I live here, and I always say we have the best skies in the world because they're really changeable because of the mountains, and sometimes they're very ominous. And, I think there can be an isolation in this area too. So I tried to use those elements to kind of personify mental illness rather than showing suffering. I thought about each person greatly, about being a kid and how do you handle this? Some were having suicidal thoughts, serious things, just as they were entering adolescence. The majority of the people I painted are peers. They go out, they tell their story, and through their story, I think in the end you have a lot of hope for people with mental illness. Certainly helps families having these struggles in their home. To me, they're just heroes. They're heroes because they survive this very difficult thing, and then they use that and they go help other people. It's very brave. I feel it's very brave. So I was really honored that they shared their story, that they allowed me to paint them. And, even just gathering the photos was difficult because they had to kind of revisit this part of their life. I did get photos from the period when they were in struggle, and some of the photos look like they'd been put away, kind of folded, and people didn't want to revisit it. Some of them go into the high school period, and a lot of people were starting to see some change at that time. I am worried about Delaware County and actually our nation in regards to mental health care because it's sorely lacking. The statistics are scary. 1 in 5 suffer with a mental illness. 80% of the inmates in the Delaware County Jail have some form of mental illness. Colleagues and I started a group called the Mental Health Justice Project in Delaware County and Otsego County because we are concerned when we heard those numbers. We do what we can. It's a large county, Delaware County. Rural America is really in crisis with mental health because there are a lot of barriers like distance, lack of services, and stigma. Because if you live in a small community and you're labeled, it's going to be hard. But we're making progress, and I'm always hopeful. So, when I was making the work, it was kind of my dream to take it on the road. I wanted to show it in all kinds of places and just say, and bring my friends with me who I painted. And, we could just sit down and have conversations. But unfortunately, COVID came in and made that challenging. But we are still continuing with that mission. And so we've had 2 Zoom talks that discuss the issues. My colleagues tell their story. It's just bringing people together, and I think it brings self-esteem also and self-confidence to my friends and all of us, me too, to say, yes, we know this, we know mental illness.
At Jessica's Wilderness Diary art opening, we had a chance to speak with some fellow advocates for mental health in Delaware County and the Catskills.
I'm Bill Hayes. I'm the affiliate leader for NAMI of Delaware and Otsego counties, National Alliance on Mental Illness.
And I'm Rena Reba. I've been with NAMI for a number of years. NAMI as a national organization calls itself the largest grassroots advocacy organization for people living with mental illness and their families, supporting and providing advocacy for getting programs and services and getting attention to the needs of people living with mental illness and improving quality of life.
I was a professional in the field for decades as a therapist, particularly with kids and their families, but also work with people coping with all kinds of stresses in their lives, illness contributed by stress or stress resulting from it. I also have some family members who have had and currently have issues with mental illness. And that's something that we share in common within NAMI. Either we ourselves have some issue and or somebody that is in the family system that has had or currently is dealing with issues, and that has ripple effect on all of us. And we try to support one another as we can and advocate for a better perspective than most people have on mental illness, and advocate for adequate access to services that make a difference in people's lives. Delaware County is as large as the state of Rhode Island, and access to services is a challenge. Access to children's services is a greater challenge as a subset, because there are only a handful of therapists in the area who have experience with or are willing to work with younger kids. Insurance companies drive the dynamics of a lot of what is accessible and what's affordable. There's a whole host of issues.
And when we talk about mental illness, as we do with substance use disorders, the person is not the illness necessarily. The illness may be part of their life, but what else is going on in their life? And what supports do they have? What relationships do they have? What potential do they have?
I'm Michael Reichman, and I just relocated to this area, just moved to Margaretville from the city. I suffer from depression, OCD, ADD, probably a few other acronyms. And during the pandemic, I resorted to artwork to express myself. I was really struggling working from home, and art was just a tremendous outlet for me, a big relief. And I happened to just walk by a gallery in Delhi and asked a couple of questions about maybe showing my artwork, and went on their website and found Jessica and read her bio and about this project, and I was immediately drawn to her and her artwork, and she recommended this organization, and I'm one of the new members, and it's just been tremendously eye-opening for me. It's really a dream come true to be upstate, doing artwork, and getting connected with these folks. I've gotten to a place in my life where it's time to pay back some people that stepped up in my life and made a big difference. And if I can do that for somebody else, that's kind of what my goal is for the rest of my time here. So I have to do this. I was lucky. The fact that I'm here, standing alive and painting and hanging out with these people is it's hard to explain, but it's life-changing. And if I can do that or help somebody else in a similar situation, that's what I'm here to do. And to look at Jessica's work, if you go up closely, it almost looks like a photograph. It's so clear, it's so concise, but it also has a feel. The backgrounds, the Catskill theme is just amazing. And I've gotten a chance to hear about some of the people in the artwork. Just amazing stories, big success stories, and it's profoundly moving. I just think this artwork is incredible, and it tells such a story. And if you read some of the written letters, I can relate to it, and I think some people read it and are probably shocked that people can feel that desperate, but I know that level of desperation. I worked for a big financial services company, and on the outside, you would have never known what was going on inside me. And I want to help destigmatize, people that are suffering, because it's an awful way to live, and people just need help. They just need, somebody, something, medication. There's a host of ways to help people. And I think Jessica, displaying her artwork and the story it really opens eyes.
Barbara was an advocate in her own way. She'd had hospital stays on and off, but one thing that she mentioned to me that she would do is she was able to connect with people who needed a ride to their appointments, their mental health appointments. And she would shuttle people to and from these appointments. And I just think having a ride with her would certainly probably be a little wild, because she was a character, and she would probably pull up in her Impala with all the windows down and probably a couple of large dogs in the car with her. She was very funny and very energetic, and I just like to see that scene of her helping others in that way. You know, I really wish she were here to see her writings on the wall and her photograph. She'd be very proud, and she'd probably even try to travel up here in the dead of winter to come and see the show. I wish that could happen.
Join Jessica for an artist Zoom talk on February 19th and visit the show through March 5th at the Roxbury Arts Center. COVID protocols are in place, including proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test. Masks are required. Please visit roxburyartsgroup.org for more information. Roxbury Arts Group is a member of the Central Catskills Chamber of Commerce. You can be too. The Central Catskills Chamber of Commerce provides services to businesses, community organizations, and local governments in the Central Catskills region. Follow the Central Catskills Chamber of Commerce on Facebook and sign up for a weekly email of local events at centralcatskills.org. Thanks also to Jessica Farrell, Samantha Nick, and the Mountain Eagle. Cats Cast is a production of Silver Hollow Audio. Please be sure to subscribe wherever podcasts are found for free and automatic delivery every 2 weeks. And if you'd like to contribute, just click support at catscast.com. Until next time, I'm Brett Barry. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.